Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I cannot see you. I am
Oh,
not doing something right.
here, wait, that's me, probably. Here we go. There we go.
I see you. Lauderdale.
Hey,
Hey,
everybody.
everybody. We're live on Facebook.
All righty. I can see Jim Lauderdale and the Cotton Patch Gospel sign poster. 40th anniversary.
Is that Pete talking?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, Pete. It's Tom Key.
Hey.
Hi, Pete.
Hey, Tom Key. How you doing?
I'm well. I want to see your face.
Yeah, me too.
Can you see it?
Nope. There's a little camera icon down the lower left side down there, which should, if you click on that, it should bring up your camera.
Pete might be on a phone, so I don't know if it's in the same place.
I do have a phone.
You just muted and unmuted yourself, so you're close.
Yeah. Pete, you're getting so close. I can.
You're warmer. You're getting
feel it.
warmer. You know, some things never change, do they?
Yeah.
I know, Scott. I remember when I was dragging around my old, like, desktop computer to rehearsals and things like that. And how things, now we have our laptops and it's just so much more convenient.
I had a student ask me if I used an iPad, what app I used for my iPad when I did live performances.
Wow.
I had to tell him that I actually learned all this shit by heart.
Oh, where'd you go?
Pete, I think I see you.
There he is. Hey, Pete.
I got the small version of you.
Hey, Pete. Good to see you, man.
You didn't.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this is going to be a hoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of already is.
Yeah.
It is amazing that we're all here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, we're the lucky ones.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'll start that again, I guess.
You should.
I forgot that if I muted that, I would mute the whole thing. How about this, guys?
Yeah. Wow.
Somebody said nothing ever happened down home around here. Somebody said nothing ever happened, ever mattered here.
Somebody said it's Gainesville, Georgia, but he smelled to see. Then a good old boy said Gainesville, Georgia's good enough for me.
Now somebody said it's the second coming, someone said it's the first. Somebody said it's the best could happen, someone said it's the worst. And somebody said if rat gut got your moonshine still your brain. Then a good old boy said the Cotton Patch Gospel started down in Gainesville,
Georgia.
Something's wrong in Gainesville, wonder what it could be. Something's doing in Gainesville, come on down and see. It's Gainesville where the wise men went to the center stable to revival tent. It's a hell of a place to be heaven sent. It's Gainesville town for me. Well, it all started in Gainesville.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Tom Chapin, and 40 years ago, last night, was the opening of, in the Lambs Theater in New York City, just off Broadway, Cotton Patch Gospel. And tonight we are celebrating that opening and the remarkable people who conceived, invented, created this crazy, wonderful show. And the stories behind the last musical project that my late brother, Harry Chapin, created. So I'm going to start out by introducing the crew here. The first person I'm going to introduce was a guy who had the first idea to do this thing. He's an actor. He's appeared in over 100 different productions from off-Broadway to Los Angeles. He's also been an artistic director since 1995 of theatrical outfit in Atlanta, Georgia. But I think you just stopped that, retired. My favorite quote that I found about Tom Key is, "An actor with such energy that even standing still, he seems to be quiver like a divining rod." Winner of many awards, the creator, the star, and the co-author of Cotton Patch Gospel. Please welcome Tom Key. Hi,
Yeah.
Tom.
Hey, Tom Chapin, everybody.
Where are you talking to us from?
I'm talking to you from my home in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. We'll come back to you. Welcome, welcome. This is such a delight. Now, the second person is the theatrical director, and he's a Drama Disc Award winner for his first off-Broadway show, Whitsuntide, way back when. In New York, he's directed for theater, many theaters, including Playwrights Horizon, La Mama, American Place Theater, and of course, his extensive regional credits. There are too many to mention, but I'll mention a couple of them. Godspeed Opera House, and Alabama Shakespeare Festival. Also the co-author of Cotton Patch Gospel. Please welcome Russell Treyz. Hi, Russ.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hey.
We're doing great. Love to have you here.
It's great to be here.
And your wife Alice is right next to you, who is the head of NYU documentary thing, which is amazing. We'll still get back to you. Now, the producer and a man of many parts, investment banker, a lot of business work, but he's also produced for Broadway, film, and television. Most recently as co-producer of Hadestown on Broadway. And he is the one who has kept this show alive in all its many forms. It's the endless tour. Please welcome Phil Getter.
Yeah, Phil.
Hi, Phil. Say hello.
How are you?
Say there's Phil. Are you in New York? Where are you tonight?
I'm in New York City, so I can be near the theater and near my family, of course.
Great.
It's great to see everybody after all these years. Some of you guys I haven't seen for 10, 20 years. Others I've had contact with, but it's great to get Pete down from the mountain, to see Michael and Jim and Scott again, who I hadn't seen in many, many years. But have
Great.
spoken a couple of times. It's really terrific. Thank you, Tom.
And now the first person hired as a musician for this show. He's a composer, an actor, and musician, Drama Desk Award winner for Broadway musical I Love My Wife, way back when. He's composed the longest running TV theme show in history, Entertainment Tonight. Da-da-da-da-da-da, I owe you money. It's been nominated for several Grammys, and he tours with this guy named Tom Chapin. Please welcome Michael Mark. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Tom. It is fantastic to be here and just to see everybody. You all look great and you all sound great. And since I was originally the only guy north of the Mason-Dixon line, I don't know if I'm allowed to say y'all, but you taught me how.
And our great friend from south of the Mason-Dixon, the American bassist, high tenor singer of gospel and bluegrass. He played bass on the Grand Ole Opry with Lester Flatt and the Nashville Grass. Starred in Smoke on the Mountain, Regional Theater, plays his live acoustic sets, and has all along the great bass and singer, Pete Corum. Hi, Pete.
Howdy doody.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing excellent. Doing
Where
fine.
are you? Where are you talking from?
Well, Harry said it the best. It's a hell of a place to be heaven sent. I'm in Tennessee.
Tennessee. All right.
Tennessee.
Great to see you, Pete.
Good to see you too. Good to see all of you.
Great to be seen.
Yeah.
All right. Musician, performer, teaching artist, music instructor, award-winning, renowned acoustic blues singer and guitarist. But he also has roots in old-time string music. Plays many instruments. In the show, he played guitar, mandolin, banjo, fiddle. And his name is Scott Ainsley. My favorite quote there is his performances present a wonderful palette of sounds and stories that delight the ear, awaken the mind, and satisfy the heart. Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah, well,
Hi, Scotty.
trying to live it up to that. You know, that's the part of that's you're doing.
Oh,
It's
thank you, sir.
Nice to see you all here today. This is just really, really thrilling to me.
All right, where are you right now?
I'm in Winchester, Virginia, in the house of one of my oldest friends. I've known him since I was 18, and we're on our way to North Carolina to do a little tiny bit of work and then wander around the country. I'm going to wind up interviewing Mississippi John Hurt's granddaughter in Illinois on this trip with video documentation. So it's a big deal. It's a lot of fun.
Great. And Jim Lauderdale, American country bluegrass and Americana singer-songwriter. 31 studio albums, collaborated with so many people, Ralph Stanley, Buddy Miller, Donna the Buffalo. Songs covered by George Strait, Elvis Costello, the Dixie Chicks, Vince Gill. Host of Americana Music Awards, nominated and won Grammys and Song of the Year awards. Please welcome Jim Lauderdale. Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, you guys. It's so incredible to be with y'all. Thank you for getting this together, Tom. This really means a lot to see all of y'all. All of you guys are extremely important to me. So it's great to be here.
And the guy who kept this all running in the back, the stage manager on and off Broadway, now a producer of as a stage manager, the credits go on. There's like 27 shows, but Honky Tonk Night, Agnes of God, Alone Together, Peg, and Cotton Patch Gospel. Please welcome Mark Rubinski. Hi, Mark.
Thank you. The best one was Cotton Patch Gospel, no doubt. 40
and
years.
Where are you? Where are you tonight?
I'm
Mark?
up in Nyack, New York, right on the Hudson River.
You're very close to me.
Looking out at the new bridge. It's beautiful.
Great. So that is the cast tonight. So I'm going to go back and begin with at the beginning. Tom Key, how did you find the Clarence Jordan book and books, and how did you decide to do a one-man show with this?
Yeah, I had toured across the country a one-person show on C.S. Lewis, and I was looking for, that was about to end its tour, and there was a very famous English actor named Alec McGowan who did the whole book of St. Mark in the King James Version. And I thought, well, I could do something like that, except from a down-home approach. And I thought how fitting the particular gospel story would be in the American South. But I thought I'd really have to know Greek to, do a raw translation from the New Testament. And a columnist for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution told me about Koinonia Farm, where Habitat for Humanity started, and this man who started an interracial farming community in 1942 in South Georgia had done a paraphrase of the gospel. And I found it very instructive and inspiring. So I did a one-man show version of it for 1 year in 1980. And that year, I was doing a season at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival and met one of the best directors I had ever worked with to this day, Russell Treyz. And I did the show for him and the company one off night because I thought it really seemed like it could use music. And I had done it in different parts of the country, and it really had an appeal. And Russell introduced me to some producer friends. We did a showcase, and that's where we got to meet Phil Getter. And Phil was on the board of the Performing Arts Foundation Theater in Long Island, and passed along a little cassette tape and a copy of Clarence's paraphrase, a little cassette tape of the one-man show to Harry, and that interested him enough to come and see me do the one-man show. And it was remarkable that all of that just fell into place.
Let's ask Russ. Russ, what did you think of when you first saw that? And give us your impressions.
Tom did a show of it for me at Alabama Shakespeare Festival with the people in the company that wanted to watch, and I loved the show. And so we started to work together on it, and uh, we were trying to get together a tour for Tom so that we could have him do the show, record it, and then we could work from that and develop it. And at one of those showings that we had for various regional producers, I invited Phil to come and see it. And he liked the show a lot and really was interested in it. And that's when we thought more about the specifics of making it a musical. And he knew Harry and brought him in to see it. We did another showcase of it, which Harry saw and loved and said he wanted to do the music. And it all began from there.
I was there that day, actually. I was, Harry, I had done a tour, a weekend tour that I was Harry's benefit band. And we did Why Hunger concerts that weekend. I forget where, because I did like 40 a year with Harry, but we did like 5 shows. So we're coming in, I think it was a Monday morning at LaGuardia, and Harry says, "Where are you going?" I'm going home. He says, "Well, look, I'm going to see this show about Jesus. You want to come see it?" And I said, I don't know. He said, "Well, you're working on a." I was writing some songs from a possibility of a musical about Willie Sutton, the bank robber. He said, "You'd rather do a musical? Come on." So I went with him. And the two of us, I sat there with Harry and watched it, never expecting that I'd be spending the next 6 or 8 months of my life involved in this. But it was pretty impressive to watch Tom, and the whole thing was just extraordinary. And Harry, I could just watch his excitement about this thing. Phil, tell us how you got this thing together.
Well, I got involved because Russell Treyz invited me to the reading that Tom Key was doing and he was directing. And I saw that reading. He did the reading for me, actually. And Russell and Tom gave me a copy of the script and a copy of Clarence Jordan's book. And I read it, and I thought it was really very, very interesting. And we got the one-man performance up at the Lambs Club, but I think it was the Lambs Club, if I'm not mistaken, just as an audition. And I had invited Harry to come. Harry was an old friend. I had an office out on Long Island on Huntington, where Harry lived, and I was on his board of directors, as you know, with the Performing Arts Foundation. And I asked Harry to come see this. I thought this might be of interest to him. And after he saw it, I don't know if it was that day, but at some point, he made his famous line, "I was born to write music for the show."
And he was, yeah.
He was.
Wow. So, okay, so Harry starts, he enters the scene. And then didn't you just expect like one song or 2 songs? And
here's the thing. I had said to Russell and Tom at the time, there are 2 things. Number one, I didn't think it should be done as a one-man show. I thought it needed more in order to do it on a commercial basis, because I was a commercial producer, and I was looking to see if I could expand it a little bit. And I said to Harry, and Russell then agreed with me, and so it wasn't any problem at all. And I said, I want to ask my friend Harry Chapin to come see this, because I think this might be something that he'd be interested in and something he could do. And I said, I'll have him write 3 songs, 2 songs, maybe 4, something like that. And after Harry saw it, I don't know, Tom, how many did he write? 15 or something? Or
16. Well, he wrote pieces of 16. I wrote the last 3, but he had the lyrics. That was after he's dead. Getting ahead of ourselves. So okay, so one of the things Harry started doing was calling me and say, "Look, I'm too busy. Can you be the music director of this?" And I said, "No, I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. Okay, I can." But at that point, he'd already hired 2 musicians, one of whom was Michael Mark. Now, how did you look for musicians? Did you, Michael? Where'd you find this? Was it in backstage, or was it in?
Yeah, we had, before Michael,
Yeah.
Russell and I had decided to hold auditions to see whether or not we had any musicians in New York that could do this. And we got very, very lucky. We were in backstage in several other places, Actors Equity and the normal places to put information up. And we just got a treasure trove of tremendous musicians who could sing, and sing Harry's music, and that's how it all started from that point.
So, Michael, where'd you see it? This is Michael Mark.
Well, Tom, I like to say that my theatrical career went backwards because the first job I was lucky enough to get in theater was a Broadway musical, was I Love My Wife. It opened on Broadway in 1977, and it was possibly the first musical where the producers thought, you know something, we can make the musicians part of the show. And there was a 4-piece band that was integrated into the show. And so we did it on Broadway, won a couple of Tonys. I got a Drama Desk Award, as you were gracious enough to say. My family came and saw the show at least 20 or 30 times. My mother was my biggest agent. We were on Broadway 2 years. Then, as I say, went backwards. Then we went on the road with the national tour with the Smothers Brothers. After we did the national tour, we did big summer stock with the Smothers Brothers. Then we did small summer stock with the Smothers Brothers. And somewhere in there, we ended up in dinner theaters on Long Island. I don't know. So I Love My Wife ran till about 1980 or so. And at the end, there's, well, what do you do next? Here, now I'm a theatrical guy. I'm looking around. I think I saw it in backstage. And I also had a conversation with the guy who was my understudy on Broadway. His name was Mike Sergio. He was a great character. He happens to be the guy that parachuted into Shea Stadium in the World Series. So that's the kind of character that he was. And he said, yeah, I'm going to go audition to this thing. Did you see it? Yeah. So responded to the thing and came in. And if I recall correctly, Harry was there, probably Russell. But I remember auditioning with a Tom Paxton song called Saturday Night, which is a little bit risque and a really great upbeat tune. And did the audition just like any other theatrical guy, go and do as many as you possibly can. And this one worked out very nicely. Thank you very much. As a beginning to a long association with Tom, but I don't want to get ahead of the game.
So then Pete Corum, I'm dying to find out how you heard about this. Must not have been in Tennessee when this happened. What were you doing up near New York?
Actually, I was in Tennessee. I had just been 3 years with Lester Flatt on the Grand Ole Opry. A promoter by the name of Jeff Burns up in New Jersey had got in touch with me and said he thought that he knew a part that I could do. So I loaded up and went to New York, and Harry was there, Tom Key, Russell Treyz, and Philip Gitter. And I think Jeff Burns had located a banjo picker by the name of Tony Triska.
Oh.
And his girlfriend came and backed me up, and I did The House of the Rising Sun. And for a ballad, I did Willow Garden. So that's how it got started.
You blew us away.
I got to tell you, when Harry, he was, when finally I said, so tell me about it. He said, well, I got two people. I got a person with a beautiful voice, and I got this bass player who played The House of the Rising Sun at such a clippity clop, and he was so high. These guys are great. He said, and so I finally said, okay, I'll be the music director, and not quite knowing what I was getting into. But then we started talking about it, and I, somewhere along the line, had long talks with Russell and maybe Tom about, I thought it ought to be a bluegrass thing, especially with Pete Corum on bass. And so then we started looking at other people, and that's when we first saw Scott Ainsley, a guy named Jim Wan, who was one of the writers for Pump Boys and Dinettes, which I actually did later on, but that's a different story. He was hired, and then his show started getting popular, so he quit after about a week or so, or a few days. And then, but we hired Scott Ainsley and then Jim. But Scott, tell us how you found about it.
I'll unmute myself. A high school friend of mine, Bill Swigert, who you'll remember from your association with his wife in LA, I think, put my name forward for this after you approached him about maybe doing the show. And so Russell called me. I lived in Boston at the time, and sort of asked me if I could come to New York for an audition. And I basically told him that I wasn't in the habit of flying to New York for auditions unless it was a pretty good, fit. So let me tell you candidly what I do and do well, and what I probably don't do well. And so we had a pretty long conversation. Then I said, "Now, if you ask me to come, I'll come." And Russell said, I don't know, Tuesday morning at 9:00. So that's the first time I saw Michael Mark. I think, Michael, you were there in this round of callbacks. And Jim Wan was there. And we sang a little bit individually. And then Tom, you and Harry, and I'm sure Phil and Russ invited us, 3 or 4 of us, to come in groups and harmonize on something.
I've forgotten that. Yeah.
This land is your land. Just sing a chorus a couple times. Let's see how these boys sound together. And everybody found a part, and we picked a key that worked, and that was the beginning. And it was life-changing for me. The production, the friends I made, the work that we did really shaped me for a very, very long time, and still does. So I'm grateful to each and every one of you.
Wow. Well, I feel the same way. And Jim, so Jim Wan left, and then we and then we lucked out in finding you. Now I kind of forgotten how that happened.
You know what? It's kind of parts of that are a little fuzzy to me, but I think I remember reading about it, like the audition in Backstage magazine or whatever. And I'm not sure about this, but I thought maybe I auditioned, but you guys told me up front, it's like, we think that this fella, Jim Wan, who I had known in Chapel Hill for writing this great play, Diamond Studs, that I had wanted to be in high school. And so sure enough, Jim got it. And right at that time, I had a day job. I was working in the mailroom and as a messenger at Rolling Stone magazine. And at night, I was doing as many country gigs as I could with my own band and with another band.
This is in New York. So you're
in New York, yes.
Okay.
And this band I was in got the job as a house band at this club called the Crystal Palace in Fort Lee, New Jersey. So that was a big deal. I was making $28.50 a night. And but it was just, it was just so exciting to be in this band. And then I got a call from Harry, and he said, "Listen, Jim Wan has been working on this play, Pump Boys and Dinettes, and it's going to go off Broadway. How would you like the part?" And I said, "Oh, shoot, I just taken this thing, but let me talk it over with the band." And so I went, and we hadn't been doing it but for about a week or so. And so, I could tell the band was really kind of like, "Oh, please don't do this." And so I called up Harry, and it was really hard. And I said, "Harry, I just can't do it. I can't leave this band, and I need to do this." And he was very kind, and he said, "Well, I'll tell you, here I want to give you some advice. Keep that fire in your belly and do your songs. Don't just do cover songs. Do your stuff, write, and keep that fire in your belly." And so I hung up the phone, and I thought, I've made a mistake. And I went and told the band, "Hey, I turned it down," and everything. And then I slept on it, and then I contacted the band, and I said, "Listen, I think I'm going to have to do this. I really feel like I need to. Can you get a replacement for me. And so they did, and they were very cool about it. And so it all worked out, and I'm just so, I can't, once again, I can't thank you guys enough, all of you. And it was just fabulous to be part of.
Cool story. I'd forgotten a little bit, but I remember Harry going back. Well, I don't know. He said he's not going to do it. Oh, he is going to do it, and it was like, oh, great. Then for me coming into this, I've never really arranged or been a music director or something, but we grew up as the Chapin brothers doing exactly this, which was three voices. How do you make it work with the instruments and stuff? And I had these four fabulous voices, and it was just an amazing thing. And then I remember going back and forth with Russ and Tom, and just finding out what worked, what didn't work. Russ, talk to me a little bit about trying to figure out how your little tank of the four guys on stage trying to hear each other and talk. I remember it was like, wow, these guys had to be close enough to hear each other and see the audience, and Tom Key's doing the thing. It's like a box in one.
Yeah. Well, it was fun, and it was great that they all were flexible and willing to work together no matter where they were on stage. So it just simply was working out with Tom and figuring it out in my own head how they fit in the plot and how they all work together, and discovering it in the rehearsal room and in our brains, in our imagination, how it all fit together.
And I remember, of course, all the way through, Harry's writing songs and more songs, and figuring out where the songs belonged and didn't belong, and so that was it would change all the time. Michael, tell me a story about Harry coming into what was it like to have Harry walk into a rehearsal, and he was on the road so much working, and so he come firing in. Michael tells his story.
I'd seen parts of the rough cut of the documentary that just came out recently about Harry. When in doubt, do something. And Mary and I sat and watched it last night, and really reminded us of the intensity and the energy of this guy. When he was sitting still, he was moving, and there were
like
just
Tom Key.
like Tom Key, exactly right. And there were a couple of times when it was personified perfectly, because we'd all be gathering and, get the coffee, come on in, Pete had a little styrofoam cup, I think, for some tobacco that he liked to chew. And we were just kind of talking, and the door of the rehearsal room would just slam open, and Harry would come in. And he'd say, because I brought up Pete, because I got a great new song for the beginning of the second act. Pete, you can do it, and you can slap the bass, and you can, I got it figured out almost, but I got to get down to Washington to testify because there's this hunger problem that's going on in the nation, and they're screwing it up down there. But you can take, and the door slammed, and out he went. And Tom turned to us and go, okay, here's what he just said. And he would just explain what it was. But the intensity of Harry, we got to see him along the way on this thing, and the intensity that he brought to the thing was so infectious. Even though he wasn't there all the time, his presence was really well felt. And Tom, you were an able interpreter.
Well, I grew up with it. Harry was amazingly prescient about certain things. He wrote what do we call it? That part of the show. I'm talking to Russ and Tom here about the spitball me Lord part, where what do you call it? Tom, that scene where it's the
Good Samaritan.
Yeah, the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan. That's that story where he's lying and we were going to show it, but the sound was so weird. But I remember they had two songs at the end of in this for the band, and Russ says, "How can you have two songs?" So I call Harry. He said, you have the first song, then you have Spit Bore Me Lord. And I don't know how we're going to do a second one. He says, this is how you do it. You have the boy say, you like that? You like it? You want to hear the flip side? I said, cool. So we tried it. It became one of the funniest things in the show was the band being so excited about they were sending this flip side. So, I mean, that was Harry, you know, he'd see this, how to make it work, even though he was firing on 4 different things at the same time. There's a lot, anyway, that was, Russ, when you guys were, and Tom, when you were working on the script with him, what was that like? Tom, will you go first?
It was intense. And it was, he was completely present and available. We met that first day. I remember the first thing he said to me after I came back into the room after having done the one-man show, and he slammed his fist on the table and said, I want to cut through all the bullshit that I was born to write the music to this show, and I've got an idea of how it could start, and I want the disciples and the band to be up on the stage and part of the action. And so the one-man show had been about an hour 15, and Russell had worked with me on that, and then adding all of these songs and adding them and subtracting them. It was a constant. We met at his house, we met at a sushi restaurant, we met at LaGuardia Airport, and we'd send little cassette tapes back and forth. And it was probably about 45 minutes of material that was in the original, did not work in the musical version because the music was telling it so well. And he just had a great sense of, like there was one, we had already gotten to the pre-New York tryout in Boston, and there was one song that he had written for after Jesus was lynched. And of course, it has to be very sorrowful, and it's the tragic part of the show. And it just wasn't working. And he remembered another song that was really a breakup love song.
You are still my boy.
No, that
which
was
one?
Mary and Joe singing
Oh,
about Jesus,
okay.
their son. It was Everybody's Lost Now.
Yeah.
And it worked perfectly in the context of all the people that love Jesus and having lost him. And it was this beautiful, beautiful song that took the lynching into this real melodic, powerful poetry.
I'm remembering that being a Sandy thing after Harry's dead, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I can
That
tell
she's-
you,
Huh?
say, I have hundreds of hours of tape of Harry and me, and sometimes Harry, me and Tom, going over all these songs and how they fit into the script. I don't know if you've ever heard them, Tom. Jason has heard some of them and recorded some of them on CDs that we've got. But I've got hundreds of hours of these kind of tapes.
Cool.
Where Russell, Tom, Harry, and myself, sitting down and trying to put it all together and everything. And when you talk about how he came into the room and banged on the table and everything, and he said, for Pete Corum, I got this song. I mean, when he heard Pete sing House of the Rising Sun, he said, I got to write a song for this guy. I got to do this for this guy.
And he did.
He did.
So there was the out of town thing in Boston. We all went up there and tried it out in Boston, and then Harry dies, and the whole thing sort of goes, whoa. Wow. And for me, the family's universe cracked, and you try to figure out what are you going to do. And we sort of just let it sit for a while, and then I get a call from Phil that says, what do you think about doing the show again? Right?
But what happened really was we weren't happy with what was going on in Boston. I mean, the straight up critics in Boston, I think it was Elliot Norton, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Russell, you might remember that. He was the famous critic up in Boston. I don't think he liked the show. I don't think a number of the critics actually liked the show. And Harry and I were talking about it and said, well, we've got to do something about it. And I remember Tom, you and I and my daughter Laura, we flew back in Harry's plane back to New York, and we were talking about how we were going to fix the show and how we were going to do things. And then after that, Harry passed, and we all were just sitting there waiting because we didn't get a great review in Boston, and we wanted to do something because we knew we had the basis of something. And we decided, you guys came up with a couple songs. Tom, you and I think Michael Mark were working on Going to Atlanta and a couple of others at that time. And they were perfect. They fit in. And I called them our Beatles songs at that point. I thought they were just absolutely terrific. And we said, well, let's try it again. And I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but we wound up speaking to Carolyn Rossi at the Rams Club, which was not a theater at the time. It was a club. And Carolyn wanted to make it into a theater. And we said, we have a show that we'd like to bring there. And we've got these great guys, and it's just perfect for you because you're a Christian organization. It's not that part didn't mean a great deal to me. And as we discussed later on a national television show with Tom, Russell, and myself. And one day, I think it was, I'm really getting ahead of myself. One day, I'm not sure if it was Billy Graham or his brother-in-law, I'm not sure, put his arm around me and said, man, you've done more for Christianity than anyone that I can think of except myself. And I said, my rabbi is going to be so appreciative.
I want to bring the stage manager who was up in Boston first, and then in New York. And Mark Rubinski, what are your memories of this whole thing? First of Harry, or getting involved in it? Who hired you?
Well, actually, I was kicking around New York doing off Broadway. Did a couple of off Broadway. Was doing tons of that kind of stuff. Doing some carpentry work to feed myself, and Russell Treyz hired me to do some renovations in his house, in Allison Milton's house. And Ross came to me one day and said, "Hey, you want to look at doing this?" And I said, "Sure, that sounds like a great idea." And for some reason, Phil and the general manager said yes, because they didn't know who I was. And so I got started with that, and I will tell you that was the start of the real focus of my career after that. So I have Russell to thank for that. It was a fascinating and fun show to do. The musicians, other than Michael, nobody had really, as far as I could understand, they weren't theater people, they were musicians. And that was just awesome. It just gave the whole rehearsal process a community and a feeling of togetherness that just doesn't happen in other shows for a while. They came together like almost immediately. And then when Jim won, it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Everybody just kind of rallied and it all came back together. And it was just a joy from beginning to end. It really was.
Wow.
Tom, the vibrancy, and as the musical director, the vibrancy that Jim Lauderdale and Scott Ainsley and Pete brought to the show of, never having been on the stage. I'm talking about theatrical stage. I mean, it was a whole new experience for the people in the audience. It was a whole new experience to see this kind of, life coming together. And it worked for Tom Key perfectly. I mean, it was great backup for him. And of course, Russell and Harry, put it all together that way.
Well, that this original band is still my favorite four vocalists together. Stuff that's you hear. I just was listening to the record again today. By the way, those of you on Facebook who would like to hear this, there is a CD available. Claudia will put up on Facebook for you guys. But let's go around a little bit and talk about what some of you already said about. So what was the show, Jim, in terms of your life? So you do this, and what did you learn from it? What did it mean to you?
Well, as I'm sitting here and, so many things are flooding back, so many wonderful memories, and just thoughts and insights about things. And when you guys were talking just about the ensemble, you know, just this group, the from you, you know, Mark and Phil and Russ and Tom and the band, it would just, you know, this was really kind of like this perfect, I won't say storm, I'll say perfect, beautiful weather that happened. And there was something, this camaraderie that we had, this very real kind of exchange that we would have musically. And then I just remember certain moments where we would look at each other, you know, things like that, you know, reacting, that were so real and moving. I mean, it seemed like every night or matinee also, I would have a few times where it was this kind of mystical type experience spiritually with the show. I mean, it was, I can't really put it in words, but these moments in song, and then at certain times with what Tom was doing, all, you know, as well. It just, you know, it couldn't have been any better and or deeper. And yeah, and I'll think of something, you know, I'm sure some more things will come to me that I've, you know, and I'll they seem
That was pretty articulate. Don't worry about it. It was good. Pete, Corum, what did it mean to you?
Well, I tell you what, as far as being theatrical, that is true. But I've worked stages all my life, and I've worked in front of people. So that really helped me along, but I couldn't have done it without y'all. He was very, very easy going to a Southern boy. And I'll have to add this too. I have finally got so I can go eat a California roll, but I do not eat sushi.
Okay, we got to tell that story. So have to tell the sushi story. So some of us we're right in the middle of Midtown, so some of us would go have sushi, and so we talked Pete finally into going to have sushi. And what is this? This is the underbelly of a fish. This is, you know, and he's turning green eating this stuff, and then an hour later, we all get sick. we all, it was bad. We took him to a place and we all got sick. I don't know if it's just in solidarity with Pete, but we all got, he said, I told you. Scott, tell me what you gleaned out of this and what the experience was like for you.
Well, I learned how to sing loud because for those of you who didn't see the show live, we were in a little over 400 seat house with no microphones or sound reinforcement of any kind. And so I developed a really big voice, and Harry and Tom wanted to hear every word at the back wall. And so we learned how to enunciate and really project. And that prepared me for going back to blues and figuring out how to sing that, which I did afterwards. But one of the nice things about the band and the ensemble in general was that the spotlight of the audience's attention was very carefully allowed to move to each one of us at different points in the show where we could have focus, have the shine. It was a very egalitarian show in that way. And so we all got a chance to kind of shine. And that was a real conscious value that I think you and Harry both and Russ brought to the show as a way of evening out the egos and giving everybody, a place of their own sort of in the material. And that made it very easy for us to behave like brothers, which we did.
It was conscious for me and for Russ and because you all were so strong. It was trying to find the right Russ to find the right thing for each person to do. I remember there were some songs we went back and forth about who can do this right, but there was that sense of we have four really great singers here. Let's just try to make that, you know, make them shine, and the songs work that way too. You know, even the parts in the songs. You know.
Can I add
Go
something?
ahead. Sure.
I just wanted to say how Harry's music and the score and the arrangements, and it was such that telling this story, it had to have song to keep building, and the story itself is so powerful. It had to have that musical element that took it stronger. And I never thought of you guys as backup. I would have the ball as an actor in spoken word, and then you all would take it and lift it to another level in music. And over the years, I've done about 12 productions, and I've had a lot of directors say to me, you know, this show looks so simple, but it's very deceptive. It really takes incredible musicianship. And I've always said, yeah, that band that we had together was a world-class ensemble.
There was.
Yeah, I have to say that this show is a bitch to cast.
Yes.
Musically, it's very hard to get the skills. And when we were building these arrangements in the rehearsal studio in New York with you, Tom, and all of our strengths got used, and they were considerable. And so
Yeah.
it's a very, very hard show to cast for musicians. And every show I've seen besides the original cast cut some kind of corner somewhere. And, you know, Tom and I both musical directed this show for a while, and it's not that they weren't good. They were all fine, but the original cast was it. And the arrangements were built to draw on our strengths. And that was a really beautiful thing.
It's interesting because one of the things that people have, I've seen a couple of shows where they just hired a bluegrass band, so you have maybe one or two singers. And the thing about this crew, you got four people who can carry a song, you know, and that's plus the playing as well. And so that was and that's, of course, what I was so, as a music director, it was such a delight to have these guys, you know, my goodness, why don't you try that, you know, and they jump on it, boom, 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 you know, it's always fun.
I got to just be able to piggyback on how special this thing was and how flexible everybody was. And, you know, the magic of doing live theater, and you have to do the same thing essentially over every night. I remember being interviewed every once in a while, and an interview was going, how can you do this every night, night after night? I couldn't wait to get to the theater because the audience is different. The setting is different. Somebody's got a cold. You got to step up a little bit, or somebody's helping you out. And Scott, I can't believe you brought up the theater and what a great theater it was, because that was a special part. And it just talks about the flexibility of the cast. And there was a story I was dying to tell, that the Lambs Theater, if I recall, as Phil said, it wasn't really being used as a theatrical venue. And we were the first ones to use the theater there in that way for a long time. So we've been there now for a few weeks, and everybody's coming to see the show. You know, my family came and saw it 50 times, and my 1-year-old is back in the backstage, and we're like a little family. And there's one night when my 90-year-old grandmother came with my cousin Pat, my grandmother, lovely Henrietta Weiss, and she was 90 years old at the time. And she's sitting there watching the show. And in this theater, it's not like there are spotlights that are hitting you in the face. You can see the audience. So you can see people enjoying it. You can see people having a good time. And the theater itself acoustically is just beautiful. It was wood and curved, so you could hear yourself well. And there's a moment that I'm sitting downstage left, and I'm singing this just plaintive ballad, you know, I'm, hush, rockabye, sweet baby, mama is here, hush-a-bye, sweet angel, there's nothing to fear. And I'm looking at my grandmother. Close your eyes, sweet darling, all through the night. And this lullaby put her to sleep. And her head bent over, and she had a hearing aid in one ear. And if anybody's familiar with hearing aids, it bends over, you go like this, and it creates a feedback loop. And the hearing aid started to squeal. It went, and I'm going, Mama will hold you safe till the morning light. And I can see the house manager in the back on the phone, frantically talking to Mark Rubinski off stage right at the stage manager's desk. And he's gesticulating wildly with his hands. And she's saying to him, Mark, we've been here for months. Can't you hear that the sound system is feeding back? Mark Rubinski is shouting back at her into the phone. We've been here for months. Don't you know we don't have a sound system? Buzzing, and I see my cousin Pat is slumping down in her chair and she's trying to nudge grandma. Grandma wakes up. We finished the song, which was a nice counter. It was a nice weaving together of two songs. The all through the ages, the wise men and sages have said there are dirty deeds simply must be done. Mama will hold you safe. And we finish, and I had to exit right. And I exit right, and Rubinski is backstage trying to figure this out. I said, never mind, guys, it's okay. It was my grandmother feeding back. And it was the cast's ability to step up to stuff like that and turn it into a moment and just go with it. It just adds to the whole magic of doing live theater and the ability to field something like that and make it special.
Do you remember Thanksgiving when they were cooking 8,000 turkeys downstairs because they were feeding the people? And we were doing the show, and I swear to God, you could see turkeys floating around in the air. It was everyone at that, they left hungry. I will tell you that. They left hungry.
So it just smelled like cooked turkeys up in there.
They were
Yeah.
cooking turkeys.
Wow. Any other stories somebody want to tell here about this? So my own thought about the New York production after Harry died was that it was a very important thing in my life. Here's my older brother died. At his funeral, my brother James said something that kind of cleared my head, because Harry was like the force in your life that you're dealing with always, and you love him dearly, but it's also like, you're trying to find your own place here, and suddenly he's gone, right? And what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to do this great space has suddenly happened? What do you? And my brother James, the oldest brother, who's also gone now, but at his funeral said, we can't fill Harry's shoes. We wouldn't want to if we could, but what we can do is fill our own shoes a little fuller. And it went bing, and that cleared a way ahead. And all of a sudden we get back on the show, and there are changes to be made. The what do we call it? The March of Death or something? That the climb? What was it? The climb?
The climb of the martyrs. Yes.
Climb of the martyrs. That disappeared, and
You
and a couple
are
of those
just
things.
a man. You've done what one man can. It was a round that Harry wrote.
Yeah. And those things that to clarify the show and make it, and I think all of those things were really good that came up. And there was a couple of songs that Harry had started lyrics for that I had to finish, like is it Turn It Around? Maybe was that early on? I can't remember. There was a couple of these that I ended up writing tunes and kind of make them work. And even when Harry was there were a couple of the small things that we needed to do, like Judd, oh Judd, where will you go? He called me up, and he's on the road. And he says, "Look, we got to do this little piece for Judd. We got to do something." And so he had Judd, oh Judd. I said, "How about Pretty Polly? The old Pretty Polly, come go along with me, Pretty Polly," which all the folkies here know really well. That one murder ballad. He said, "That's cool. Write it." So it was writing. It was just putting the words to it. And then Scotty, who can play the wonderful frailing banjo, had that, and those kind of things with Harry. I was always going back and forth and that stuff. But then when Harry's gone, it was like you just had to sort of channel it and find a way to make it work. But to make a long story short, it was a way of me dealing with his death working with you guys. You know, it was like a powerful way to go through it, make sure the thing worked, and it was emotional and hugely healing. You know.
Yeah.
It was a
Right.
difficult time. It was a very difficult time. I mean, I can tell you, I think I knew, other than Tom, I knew Harry longer than most of you. And he was really one of the most important people in my life at the time. For many, many, many years, he shaped my life, things I wanted to do and accomplish. And it wasn't, Tom Key, it wasn't that we wanted to keep the story going or anything like that. The story was going to go. The story has been here for thousands of years. It'll be here another thousands of years. I don't think anybody can kill it. But we wanted to make it happen, and we wanted to bring it back to New York, and we wanted to then take it on the road. And some of you guys were with the show for 5, 6, 7, 10 years on the road. I don't even know how many of all the towns and places that we went, and all the cities that we sat down for years and years. And once we got below the Mason-Dixon line, man, everybody loved us. I mean, it just worked. Every day it worked. Every show worked. And we had sold out houses for the next 5, 10 years.
I did a thing in Missouri with an all-female cast.
Wow.
I didn't do the show, but I was coming to do a concert, and they hired me to come because they just done a whole female cast in a courthouse in what's the Mark Twain town? I can't think what it was.
Hannibal.
Hannibal, Missouri.
Yeah.
Missouri.
Wow.
And there was a couple of guys who wanted to bring artistic stuff back to Hannibal, and they did some interesting things. One of the things they did was that. So I come, and they want me to do 3 songs from Cotton Patch with the best voice of the women. So we sang Jubilation and You Were Still My Boy, and I forget the third one, but the Jubilation, there was a whole kids choir. And so it was just an amazing thing to do. I'm singing, this is a song that needs no explanation. This is a song I hope the time would bring. This is a song I call my jubilation. And on, da, 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 da. Everybody say we, and the kids stand up in the audience, jubilation. They start walking. Everybody say we, jubilation. These kids walking up and find out like 70 kids up behind me doing this song. It was a pretty magical thing. And I thought, wow, I'm sorry I missed the show, but it was, and the woman who sang with me was just great. So we did You Are Still My Boy, and she just killed it. But I'm loving the fact that this thing is out there, touching in ways that you never,
I tell you, Tom, I think, unfortunately, Harry got killed, and it was terrible for everything. But that music, the music for the show that you guys wrote, I think it would be much, much more popular if he had been. I mean, he and I had spoken about it, and his agent and everything, and lawyer Monty Morris, we had spoken about it too, of whether or not other people were going to be able to sing the songs and other people were going to be able to use music and everything. And I had always hoped that people would cover the music. But a lot of people never heard of it, didn't hear it. And if Harry there were 2 or 3 songs in the show that Harry had actually recorded himself on some other albums. And some other people that he knew that, like Odetta and all that, recorded. But I think a lot of the music in the show would be popular music today if he had been around.
That's right. Yeah. You never know how those things are.
Tom, clear up something for me when you're talking about the newer songs after Boston. Jubilation was new, wasn't it, for New York?
No, but what was new was at Harry's funeral, Michael Mark said, Jubilation could have love
the Lord your
love the Lord your God. We put that together at Harry's funeral. You were there, Jim, right?
Yeah.
And Jim, and the only one who wasn't was Pete. Jim and Scott and Michael sang Jubilation. And Dave Marsh, the great critic, said that was one of the best songs Harry ever wrote from that funeral, because we did it with adding that part, love the Lord, in the middle of that, which didn't happen in the first part. The first time we did it. Jubilation was always a great song.
Okay.
Jubilation was interesting. Harry wrote that. Harry wrote that as the going to Atlanta. So his tempo was, this is a song that needs no explanation, Jubilation. And I heard it, I said, wait, whoa. This song is so much more powerful. Like, roll it, let it go. And he said, he agreed with it. And then he wrote Going to Atlanta to fit that spot, which needed when they're coming into Atlanta and they're arriving. So you're right in one sense. It was a totally different thing in New York by the time it got to New York, because it was Harry's funeral. Michael Mark was the one who suggested it when we were. My brother Steve loves that song, but not being a fan of everybody say ooh-wee, because he wasn't part of the show. He says, can't we say something like everybody say Harry or something? Because he didn't understand. I said because it's a thrilling song. No matter when you hit it. And I remember in the show, when that song happens, the show has won everybody over by that point. And that song is like, I want to be part of these guys. I want to go with you. You know, it's astonishing, that song. And Michael and I have done it so many times. And actually, Scotty did it on one of my live albums. But Michael and I have done it so many times, and we always and you want to explain where it's coming from. So I start explaining, and Michael says, it's really funny. I have a good explanation, but the first line is, this is a song that needs no explanation.
I can remember Harry coming into Russell and me. It was he didn't have much time. I think we were at the Minskoff building, and he was real excited. I mean, even for Harry, he was excited. and he came in and said, I've written, I think, the best song I've ever written. And he got the guitar out and he started playing Jubilation. And we all knew right away that it was great. And that same day, he said, oh, and he was in the elevator about to go, and the doors are closed. And he said, I figured out what the little girl sings, Jesus sings when the little girl wakes up. Love the Lord your God with all your, and the elevator door closed. And it was like that all the time. You just never knew when fire was gonna light. And I can remember we knew we had a real strong ending. The resurrection was great. And the last song, if a man tried to take his time on, but the ending of the first act, we knew still didn't have enough juice to propel the audience to the second act. And I can remember when going to Atlanta, and then Jesus's doubts, and what does Atlanta mean to me? And then the disciples driving it, and the energy that you guys would give me, just relating, it made all the difference in the world, having done it 26 characters just as a one-man show, and then to have the energy, the interplay of fellow characters, it was so wonderful. And Harry and Russell could shape so much out of that alchemy of what we had together.
I was one of the amazing things to me was the early thing Michael was talking about, all through the ages, wise men and sages. That thing is so interesting, and then with juxtaposed with the lullaby. Right. It was, early on in the show, it was like a powerful thing. Oh my gosh, in a way that when we were rehearsing it, it was great. But then you watch it in context, and it's really whoa. It kills, And Michael having to be, the mother singing that, which is it was great. Any other stories anyone wants to share with us? Anything?
I think we should all wait for the movie.
The movie. Oh. So is that a thought here of somebody making a film of this?
It's definitely a thought. It's definitely something to think about. No question.
Cool. A
think there's
musical
gonna
or
be a-
not?
And Russell and Tom, for folks who don't know, Russell and Tom had been working on a slightly different version, not a different version of the story, but a more inclusive version of the characters and things like that. More in keeping with today's world, and that's still on the table, and we're still trying to get that going, so that we have our population isn't. Although we had four of the best guys in the world up there on stage, including Tom and Tom, we didn't have women on the stage. We didn't have Black people or any other ethnicity on the stage.
Sure.
I mean, those are things that can be done, and those are things that we're looking to include and make it happen. And Tom and Russ have actually have a version of it that they had performed, but not publicly recorded or done. But hopefully, when we get to the movie, or maybe it's just a television show, everyone will be able to get to see that.
When in the mid 90s, right before I became artistic director of theatrical outfit, I had done about 5 productions of the show. And long story short, I wanted to explore different instrumentation, different casting. And I co-produced with the Alliance Theater when Kenny Leon was the artistic director there. A production of it was 17 people, most of whom were Black. And we had a great band. And a lot of the music, we could really pull out the Black gospel element. A Black woman was the narrator, and I was playing all of the roles, including Jesus. This was 1995, and critically and at the box office, it was the Alliance's most successful show of that season. And then in 2003, I did a similar production at the Dallas Theater Center, and this was 20 years after we had done it in Dallas. And again, it was the most successful show at the box office and with the critics. And just that, and so my final show as artistic director, theatrical outfit, was going to be Cotton Patch Gospel with a cast of 15 with about 8 to 10 actors on stage and a band of about 5. And I was going to play Matthew, the narrator, and there were going to be, the cast would be set up like that. And I had a great couple of musical directors and directors that I had worked with before, but about a month before we were due to open, COVID hit. But I had a great time working with Russell. We just thought about some of the things that we learned in the experience over the years. And so hopefully that creative energy that we invested in the show will have an opportunity to manifest in the future. I still think now more than ever, we need this story. And I'm hoping that won't be the last time I've done it.
Well,
Cool.
I'll tell you, we have several hundred people on the Facebook right now watching us, and I understand some of them are chatting back and forth. I haven't got the chat on, but I think we can safely assume and tell the people who are watching now and people in the future, there will be more Cotton Patch. There will be other stage productions, and we're working very hard to see if we can bring something up for the motion picture.
That's great news. Before we end, let me go around the musicians who are all workers still, and find out what's happening. Scott, are you on tour these days? Out and about?
Right now on my way to North Carolina to do an outdoor house concert in Asheville for
Asheville.
the Americana stage, and then a couple of high school teaching concerts on the African roots of American music for 9th and 10th graders in Albemarle, North Carolina, east of Charlotte. And then we're going to work our way north visiting people and do this interview with Mary Frances Hurt, John Hurt's granddaughter, and then go out and have Thanksgiving with Barb's granddaughters out in Colorado, and then we'll come home. So
Cool. Well, if you come by my way, stop and see us in our new house.
I got your
You
new
haven't-
address.
And you haven't seen the new ones, you know. You haven't seen E and Willa, have you?
No,
The
I
little
haven't.
girls?
Yeah, no,
And we have a little Ollie too. So it's wonderful to see you, Michael. What are you doing? He's unmuting.
There we go. Well, during the pandemic, the guy I was working with was a little bit quiet. Tom we all had a little hiatus time, and that gave me and Mary a wonderful opportunity to hang with our families. One time when it let up, we got on a plane and got out to see Noah, who was here. 1981 was a great year for me. Noah was born, and Cotton Patch Gospel happened. Entertainment Tonight started. It was all great. We get to go out there, visit our grandbabies, Noah and Katie, and we got to see Ronan and John in Chicago, and we hang with my mom. But in the meantime, I'm doing some writing projects and getting to play with Tom. I think we're doing a small concert coming up this next week, and we got a few things on the books, and I've got some writing projects in the meantime.
Great. How about you, Pete Corum?
Well, like everybody else, I feel like I've been on sickness protection through the government, and but it's worked, and we're starting to do some festivals now. We're starting to work on a CD, a new one, and that's something that we're looking forward to because you always need airplay. But I would like to say that doing the Cotton Patch and meeting and working with these people, all of you, it has been one of the highlight of my life.
Mhm.
And I love every one of you.
Likewise, Pete. Thanks so much, man. It's so great to see you. You look like Colonel Sanders a little bit right now.
Yeah.
But you sound like Pete Corum still, that
Well-
great high voice.
When we ain't singing, we run a little filling station in Grocery Ed up on Highway 11.
Jim Lauderdale, you
Um,
probably I went on your website. You got a lot of gigs coming up, don't you?
I had a few gigs this morning today at Dollywood, of all
Ah.
places, and that. But luckily, I got here in time for this, and I'm touring around a lot, and I'm really enjoying writing and recording this stuff and making records, and so that is keeps me going in a lot of ways. And a couple of quick final anecdotes. Well, one thing before I guess joke that's going around, or it's not really a joke, but how many actors playing Cotton Patch Gospel does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
One, Tom Key. And and when I was thinking about those times on stage where we had this great magic chemistry, all of us together with Tom, and just the excitement. There was something about Tom had this thing during going to Atlanta and certain times where he'd do this with his forearm, of excitement, and we'd just look at each other, and we were, it's just this beautiful energy we had with each other, and Jubilation was just such a that you were talking about those Beatles songs. I mean, that really, just, man, it just got me every time. You're Still My Boy. I mean, just so many. This show, as I was saying, so many things are flooding back, so many memories. By the way, I lost my copy of that NBC, was it a Sunday morning thing? So if any of y'all still have a DVD or some way to, well, I mean, it was back then.
I've lost mine
VHS,
too.
but
I don't have a copy of it.
If anybody
Phil-
has it, I'd love
Phil,
to.
I think, has it, but he said he just moved, so it's at a box someplace. Right?
But and one thing I want to share with you guys is that through the years I see, like, I got a phone message from a guy named Dallas Wayne, who's a great musician, singer, and he was in a band called Special Consensus that did Cotton Patch Gospel, and I know it really meant a lot to them. And I run into musicians all the time that are like saying, "Hey, I did Cotton Patch Gospel," and it was just, it really had a big impact in the bluegrass community. And I was very fortunate too, after New York and Woodstock, going to Dallas and Atlanta with the show, and that was really a great experience. And it all comes back home, tonight, just talking to you guys. I mean, guys, man, it just, once again, I'm so grateful to all of y'all. And I hadn't been able to, Tom, I ran into you at the Grammys a few years ago. And Michael, I ran into you someplace briefly.
Yep.
And Pete, I haven't seen you in so long. And Scott, I actually, here's this guy who was a master at old-timey fiddle and banjo, and then he writes an instruction book on one of the hardest blues guys ever, Robert Johnson. And I actually took a course with Scott at a place called the Swananoa Gathering. And so it's just, and
Wow.
I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but one time Scott was in the dressing room and he actually knew all of the acupuncture meridians and would sometimes be like, well, I need a little energy, or I'm stressed, or got a headache, or whatever. And he would, could do acupuncture on himself. And I've never seen that before. But
Yeah, well, it's a misspent youth and then middle age, and if I'm lucky, I'll get to misspend the rest of it and just cash it out. I mean, you don't want to sit around,
But Tom, I'll tell you, you gave us all so much joy and being able to play with you and watch you. It was just, and guys, you all gave me so much joy, and Tom, Chapin, and Russ, and Phil, you guys, thanks. Phil and Mark, thank you so much for keeping us, herding us cats, and all you did. And it's just, Phil, really, we can't thank you enough, because that, that job you did of allowing,
Keeping it going.
allowing this to be possible, back in the day, and what it's gone into. And one final thing, and I'll hush, but I wish there was some way for a benefit or something that we could all get together and just do, even if it was an unstaged thing where we were, sitting, and Tom could, move around, and I just want to throw that idea out there. If there's ever any kind of some kind of a benefit somewhere, and it wouldn't take too many days or whatever, but
I would absolutely love that.
You could
that would be great.
at World Hunger.
We have to do it while Tom can still move around.
That's right. The clock is ticking. I would love that. I would just love that.
Let me see how we might be able to work something out. Tom, we'll talk. But let me tell you that the NBC special that Tom Key, Tom Chapin, and Russell Treyz and I did, that Jim was talking about. I actually have a copy. I don't have it on a CD, a DVD, I'm sorry. I actually have a copy of it, and I can see if I can get it printed up on CD, DVD for us.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would
Well, whatever it is, I just want to say that we need to hurry.
Yeah, please.
Time is not on our side.
Well, I got to say, we're all still here, and everybody's
Yeah.
doing great work still. So,
Yeah.
thank you all for this evening.
Thank you.
What a delight!
Gosh.
It's been a magical thing. You know, these things are so ephemeral in a way. I'm really not full time in this kind of show business. Tom Key is, and Russ is, and Phil more than the rest of us. But that idea of that you work together on a show, and then whatever it is, a movie, a TV show, a play, a musical, and then this crew works and you work as a family, and then all of a sudden dissolves and blows away. But this one, for me at least, didn't blow away. And I got to tell you, I want to thank you, Jim Lauderdale. My daughters played your radio show, Abigail
yeah.
and Lily,
Yeah.
and they know every song. They recorded a couple of them actually, and Abigail and Lily on morning show did "You Are Still My Boy," and it's like, oh, the two of them killed it. And so it's just by way of saying that for me and I think for all of us, it was a magical thing in our lives, and it's so great we had a chance to thank each other and say hello and what it meant, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's not make this the last time we see each other. If you want to put this back together again, I just want to sit in with it. Maybe we can do
you have to be
a combination
the music director. You have to, and you were very, you were awesome at helping us.
The
Thank
best.
you so much. Yeah.
The best.
Well, the thing that was interesting is how much I learned about myself and about the music, because you get in this thing and you don't know how much you know. And then all of a sudden you're working with you guys and we're all discovering these things. And it's kind of a magical process. And I realized that I was, as Harry said, I was made to do this, From the time I started playing with my brothers when I was, 11, 12 years old, that's what we did. We did exactly this, get together with those voices and figure out how to make the songs work. And it was a great, amazing delight to work with Russ, who was and because who was not a folk guy at all, but he trusted me and trusted us, and we trusted each other, right, Russ? I mean, it was interesting working together. That whole thing of looking at what was happening and delighting at what worked, and then figure out when it wasn't working, how to make it better. That was the whole process.
Well, you and Russ really brought out, the best of us. It was just, what y'all did was just,
Thanks. I just want to ask Mark Rubinski. So your job was to keep every show a kind of a calm and make sure everybody was there. I mean, you were like the, as you say, herding the cats. Was this but you say it sounds like this was an easy one for you compared to some other ones, huh?
Well, they all have their moments, but this one was so much fun to do, and everybody was always totally cooperative and wanting to just be part of the team. So it was easy from that point of view for sure. It was a great experience.
I want to tell one little quick story. Maybe Mark can tell as well. I got a call from Mark's wife was there was a kid who was a Down syndrome kid in high school in Nyack who died, and he was his mother had got him to be in school with real kids, and he was the darling of everybody, and he was a big fan of my kid stuff, This Pretty Planet. And Michael, tell a story that of that night.
This is Mary Wallace's kid. Oh, I'm getting calcification. Start me off and I'll finish it.
Okay, well, she decided, Mark's wife, and I've forgotten her name. She's a lovely woman.
Lee Hancock.
Yes, Lee Hancock. Thank you. and she suggested we do "You Are Still My Boy."
Right.
Now this kid has just died. He's 12 years old,
Oh.
and we both go, "Oh my gosh!"
Yes, it was at his memorial service.
Yes, his memorial service,
That's
and we both go, "Really? I know we know when to do This Pretty Planet was his favorite song," and she suggested "You Are Still My Boy"
Right.
at a memorial service for a kid who has just died, and the whole high school is there.
Yeah.
And so, "You sure?" She says, "Yes, yes." So we do it,
You are
and
my boy, even though you're gone now. And that was all we needed for the audience to just come together. We have your memories lingering on. And the song fit so beautiful.
boyish laughter rings out clear. It seems you must be near. And the director, what's his name? I'm thinking of Manchurian Candidate and Philadelphia's. What? Jonathan Demme was there. He's also gone now,
Yeah.
and who lives in Nyack. And his kids were at high school. And after the memorial service, Jonathan Demme comes back to me and Michael and goes and says, "That song was the most perfect song." He was like almost crying, for that moment. And I thought, boy, Harry, you killed it again. But it was really Lee Hancock's idea to do it, and it was from Cotton Patch, and she said, "That's the one to do."
Yep.
And so, that was an amazing moment in my life later on. That from Cotton Patch. And
I'd like to add that young man I think he was 13 years old. He had Down syndrome.
Right.
And that's why he passed away. But what's interesting is that he had formed a community in Nyack because he was so open to everyone there. And the community completely came around him and supported him in his disability. So there were so many textures and levels to that whole story. And I will say, being married to a minister did make doing Cotton Patch Gospel. It gave me a few good notches. Let me put it that way. But it was very meaningful. That was an amazing moment in time, though.
I'm recalling his name was Patrick.
Patrick.
The community just gathered around him, and there were contributions. There's a bench at the Nyack Middle School in his honor, in a little bit of a garden area. You're bringing back quite a memory.
Michael's on the board of on the school board and was president for many years. So Michael's been doing this in his spare time. Been working on the school stuff.
We've been getting yelled at a little bit lately, but in Nyack we're doing a good job. The community's coming together.
Good.
Friends, thank you so much for tonight.
Thank you.
Love you all. It's been just a lovely thing.
Before you love us all, you talk about community. Let's not forget to thank everybody who's listening in tonight and the folks who show night after night. The one thing that's great about it doesn't even have to be theater. Everybody who's in the band and Tom Key and Mark and Russell and Phil, you all know that live performance is a two-way street. You get on stage and you've got a message to deliver and you've got emotions to share, but the audience feedback is what makes the thing energized and beautiful and something you can't get enough of. So I just wanted to say thanks, and I'm sure we're all saying thanks to the folks who tuned in tonight. Can't wait to sing for you all again.
Also, I want to say thanks to Claudia, who got this thing going in the first place. Claudia Leibowitz, wait a minute. She went to 37 times to Cotton Patch Gospel. She worked over at CBS then, and would just finish work and walk over and see the show. So she saw it more than anybody.
More times than my mother.
Yes, right. And
with less feedback. Yeah.
and she's the one who reminded me that it was 40 years and she's the one who got this all happening. So thank you, Claudia. And thank you all.
And we just want to say stay safe, everybody.
Yeah.
It's great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
Gosh.
Thank you very much.
Let me see if this works.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you,
This
Jim.
was-
All those
Thank you.
Al, it's great to see you.
Oh, this is beautiful.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can play this. I have a song to end this.
Well, I hope I see y'all soon in person.
Hope
Me
so.
too.
Well, let's see what we got here. Let me try to do this again.
When we do the PBS special of
See?
us getting together to do the thing.
And prove before he died what one man's life could be worth. Well, I wonder what would happen to this world. Oh, yes, I wonder.
Yes, I wonder.
I wonder.
Yes, I wonder. What happened?
What happened to this world? Well, I wonder what would happen to this world. Now disciple children walk the streets, selling books and flowers. Could they be the last ones with a semblance of a dream? If we say there's no one out there, we say we're going nowhere. Can we avoid the question? Is this all that it means? All that it means. Now if a man tried, to take his time on earth, and prove before he died, what one man's life could be worth. Well, I wonder what would happen to this world. Well, I wonder what would happen to this world. Everybody say,
Ha ha.